speaker is Eva de Klerk. She's an urban activist and the SM from Amsterdam. And Eva is initiator, pioneer, cultural explorer, project booster, matchmaker, community builder, fundraiser, process manager, and bottom-up city developer. Please welcome Eva.
Thank you. Thank you, Sudes, Peter, Edda, and Jenny for inviting me and to being here. It's been an inspiring day today. I have to find out. Well, first, it might be interesting to know who I am. Jenny just mentioned lots of things, but I didn't start. This is the start of my career. I studied psychology and communication sciences, but I had a very bad car accident, so I had quite some problems in finishing my university. And also try pretty hard to find work as well. So I've been, not really finding my way into society. And then I had a plan. I went to the Alps for 7 months, and I went herding goats, making cheese. And it was very high. There was no cars. You only had to walk up there for 2 hours. And when I finished, I thought, if I can do this, I can do anything I want. So I worked with artists. I always had this dream. I want to work with artists, activists, people that do things themselves. And I've been working for several art initiatives and site-specific theater companies in the Netherlands. And we have performed on many rough areas, railway carriages, trains, abandoned areas, but also on many famous festivals in the Netherlands. And we were also all working and finding our space in empty, squatted buildings, warehouses, huge buildings. And now I am what Jenny just called me, all this project booster and developer, etc. But I would rather see myself as a mother. I have 3 kids, and I do projects which come from the people and are necessary projects where the people, and especially now children, can benefit from. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about this NDSM project, because this will be a guideline for you that you can do, like, if I can do this, you could do this. So this is in Japanese as well, because I work now in Japan. I've been working on Berlin Tempelhof, but before you have to see why are they asking me all over the world to be here. I'm going to tell you a little bit of a story about Amsterdam. This is the river, the main river through Amsterdam. You see the south of the river, that's Amsterdam. The north of the river, it's not on the map. If you go to Amsterdam as a tourist, you will get a map of Amsterdam, but the north is not on it. And along the river, there were many industrial areas, many old warehouses, custom sheds, buildings, silos, etc. They were all abandoned. They were all left in the 80s. They went either bankrupt or finished, so all this was abandoned area along the river. And Amsterdam was facing the river to the other side. It was not working with the river at all. And along these along this river, there were these warehouses, and you can understand that we felt very comfortable. They were sort of far away, very big. So as an artist, we could build big stuff there. As a skateboarder, you could build your own skate park there. So it was quite interesting set of buildings, like 12 really big buildings along the river, which we all set up our own communities. We either squatted the building, or we asked permission, could we maybe rent the building or have it for, just pay a little bit of money for it. But this was really, and they all became very popular. This is the Grain Silo. This is where I was working with Silo Theater, a very famous site-specific theater. And they all became very, very interesting places. A lot of people felt attracted to it, not only artists, but also people that were illegal. They were immigrants, but they were not allowed to stay, but they did have an occupation, and they could start something for themselves here too. Also children, like the girls and boys from the street, starting their own skate park or roller discos, all sort of young people entrepreneuring and doing stuff which they could not do anywhere else. And they became very famous and also attracted, of course, a lot of international artists, and they became really big, and we were like seen as a Dutch avant-garde in the Netherlands. And, these buildings were horribly, and they were dirty, and there was a lot of rats and pigeon shit and everything. And we managed to clean them up and make nice restaurants and galleries, art space and stuff like that. So we have a very strong tradition from the 80s and 90s to occupy these buildings and do something. And also the neighborhood would come into these buildings and also would ask, can we do something as well for our children or start a children cafe or something. So there was a lot of activities going on in quite far away places actually. And in 1996, we organized ourselves. This was in response to, you can understand that at a certain time in the 90s, mid-90s, this area came to the attraction of banks and developers and the government who wanted to transform the whole riverbank into Manhattan or Wall Street along the A. And we felt this development, we should actually be a part of this development because we had so much experiences in refurbishing the buildings, cleaning them up, creating nice communities. They were very popular for the neighborhood. They were very popular in Holland, even abroad, international. So we set up an association called the Guild of Industrial Buildings along the River A, just sort of come up with, you know, our philosophy about how you could make the city. As you can see, this gentrification was going on, and despite the book and we also wrote a manifest. Let me see the next. Oh, sorry, that's. Anyway, that's I don't know. I can't see which next slide it is. But anyway, so this was the plan for the whole river area to transform it into like this Manhattan. Actually, this plan never came through. I'm going to jump a little bit into time, because the market for who they planned this, the business district, didn't want to go to the River A. They wanted to go to the South Axe, another part close to the highway. So it was very, not very demand-driven development. But still, despite that, all our buildings had to be evicted. So all our successful initiatives in these buildings that have been working there for 15, 20 years, very complex process of a group of people getting together, managing to set something special, or maybe even trying to buy it themselves. But we were kicked out. And then there was a lot of demonstrations in Amsterdam, and we were like everywhere at the airport, at the tramway stations, we were demonstrating, do not go into Amsterdam because the cultural climate sucks. The cultural climate of the city is only focusing on consuming art, on the museums, on the canals, and not on the production of art, and it's becoming very expensive. And so we had a lot of demonstrations and also a lot of international criticism, actually, because every year the city of Amsterdam invites someone from abroad to give his view on the city climate or the cultural climate of Amsterdam. And he also said Amsterdam, it was Trevor Davis from Denmark, and he said Amsterdam is pricing itself out of the market. It's becoming too expensive. It's not appealing anymore for people that are experimental or innovative or want to, more into contra images or contra revolution or not. So, despite all our efforts and criticism, we were vacated or evicted out of the buildings. And I was in the silo, the last picture you saw. I was looking at the other side, at the NDSM shipyard. I've performed there in 1996 with the South Pacific Theatre group, Dochtroep, which is quite a famous group. And we were working there with the locals, with the old shipbuilders, and we did this, performance on the spot. And it was a really run-down area. It was criminalized and deserted. It was an old ship dock area. It was planned to be demolished by the government, but it was still there. It was still empty, very polluted. And this, you see the big hall there with the blue door. That was the building that I thought I should start and do something. Nobody wanted to go to the north. Everybody was like, no, it's too far away. And we thought, if we are going to be kicked out everywhere, let's just move all to a place where nobody wants to be. Nobody wants to find us. And this is the NDSM Shipbuilding Hall. And that was abandoned since 1984. It was empty, very polluted, had no roof, nothing. And then in 1999, I started to come up with a plan to take, to sort of come up with an idea to, do something in the building. And I asked two people that were very experience in the squatting movement. That's Hessel and Caroline. She was my great performance, my great example, because she managed to buy one of the great big warehouses with 80 artists themselves. So she just bought it, went to a bank, got a loan, and they all did it themselves. And that was my example. I want to do something like that too in the north of Amsterdam, in the NESM. So there was a competition set out by the district authority of the Amsterdam North, and I decided to enter the competition and with a plan. And my best friends were skateboarders and unemployed mothers and some crazy theater makers that really had this idea to have their own skate park or build their own restaurant or build their own studios, but they were not seen as good entrepreneurs. It was very difficult for them to get money. Nobody took them serious. So they did try to set up a skate park or a restaurant or other places, but they were not allowed. So when I started NESM, I knew these people. I said, come on, let's all go to the north. Everybody hates the north, so we might come up with a good plan and for our dreams to come true there. So we entered the competition. We just asked our friends, like the skateboard community was quite big, like lots of skateboarders, and we all put money together. Within 2 weeks, I think we had 3,000 euros to make a plan. And we also asked you guys, architects, on no cure, no pay base to help us work out our plan, and also financial experts, sort of like we have to sort of think how much it's going to cost to refurnish the building. The roof was, there was no roof, etc. So we asked a lot of people just on no cure, no pay to help us. With our own money, we could make it big. It was this big, and we printed it 50 times, so it would stick out everywhere. You could not put it in any drawer or cupboard. And we gave it to all the decision makers in Amsterdam. And so it was a big handcrafted book, and we had a graphic designer design it. And we had a model, a big model. We entered with a big model made by the architect. I have a bit of a cold, sorry. The philosophy, well, actually, what the plan was about, that we were going to build a city as a framework. You can imagine the old buildings that we had entered before. They were quite sustainable, rough structures. And you could see that first they were warehouses or storage spaces, and then an artist would move in, he would build studios or a skate park or whatever. So you can see that these firm buildings have quite flexible inside. You know, the use of these buildings are quite flexible. So that was a bit of our idea, that we should have this firm, sustainable structure, basic structure, in which the use is flexible. You can take things, you can build things in, but you can also take it out and build new things in it. So that was our philosophy. Also, it was about developing with the people themselves, the end users. Well, what is end users? But anyway, with development by the end users. And for example, Caroline, the one who inspired me most, she managed to buy this building with 10,000 square meter, big building with 80 artists. And she just, because it was, you know, she managed to get it for €1. It was, you know, in bad shape. She managed to create this interesting investment climate that people who want to be part of this building, want to work there, that they would invest themselves, because they didn't have to pay a lot of rent. They do pay rent, but they would have enough room or, you know, financial possibilities to invest themselves, also by building their own studios. So it's creating this environment where it's interesting for people to invest. Yeah? And it's yours, and it's going to be yours forever. Also, it's about self-initiative. It's like really a do-it-yourself community. So if you want to have a ready-made studio somewhere, you probably don't belong in our place. But if you are really creative and you like to build and you like to use your hands, it's a good place, because we like, and also it's organically. You develop in time, not an instant developer by developers, but you can gradually invest in the building organically. You can tax the build, you know, what's it called, taxeren, taxatie. You can know what it's worth at the beginning, and then at the middle, at the end, you can always see what the price is being. And the value development goes to the people and not to the developers. So this was the idea that, and if you do that together with a lot of poor people, you can actually renovate a building with €6 million yourself from your own pocket money. You can get a hypothec or a loan, which is quite interesting. So this is the city as a framework, the Stad als Casco model that we implemented within the competition. Like, we are going to build our own city with 500 people. And we are going to design it, we're going to finance it, and we're going to develop it ourselves. That was our aim. And it's not like for who it is. There was no end image. We were like, for everybody who feels attracted to this place should be part of it. And even if there are boats, yachts, businesses in the area, they should stay there because that's why we feel attracted to that area. So it should be, it should continue from what's already there. That was our belief. The state of the whole. It was, did I already said that we won? I just have to go through, no. Okay, we won the competition out of 140 applicants, and we were lucky to win it because there was one person in the government who was so angry that we were kicked out of our houses along the A, out of these large warehouses, that he was now a very important person at the district authority in the north, and he thought these people that have worked so hard should be allowed to win the competition. So we were, I think, lucky. But anyway, we won the competition, and what did we win? We won a warehouse, 20,000 square meter, 19 to 25 meter high, with polluted ground, no infrastructure, no toilets. The walls had to be renovated, and there was not even a sewage there, and the lack of maintenance was 8 million euro. And we had nothing. We were unemployed mothers and skateboarders and stuff like that. So, and the prize was, or the idea was, that we should make that we were the only party to make a feasibility plan. Well, you can imagine us going to a bank and you're not, and how are you going to prove you're going to manage it? But we felt quite confident from our experience in the past that we can manage it. So we were allowed to make a feasibility plan. This is called the IJsprong van Kinetisch Noord. I don't know if you know IJsprong. You know the IJsprong? Yeah, well, the river is called the IJ. So we jumped over the river, Sprong, IJsprong, and we called ourselves Kinetisch Noord. And in this, and the competition we entered was for 5 years. They were looking for a temporary user for 5 years. And then we had to we set up a sort of a foundation. We were first a working group with crazy artists, theatre makers, etc. But we set up a foundation in 2000, and we wrote a feasibility plan. And the conclusion was it's not feasible, because you cannot develop and build a city in a warehouse. And before the first pole in the ground, you as architects should know that it's in a polluted area. All these permissions, you need at least 5 years. And also for our program, our experimental festivals, etc., it was not good. So it's very funny that the government lets you win with a plan which is not, it's actually not even possible to realize within 5 years. They should know that. But anyway, it was not feasible, but we thought if we could have a lease for maybe 10 years or 25 years, we can make it feasible. We also wanted to buy it. That was our first thing. Can we please buy it? But they thought we were very stupid, young, crazy activist people. No, we're not going to sell it to you, and we're going to run down the area anyway and build skyscrapers there. So I managed to get a lease for 25 years, and that was funny. Oh no, okay, 25 years. Now, with this feasibility plan, I could calculate it's 30 million to renovate the building and build 28,000 square meter, because that should be enough to get rent, to refurnish the walls and to repair the buildings, and we could get a loan, etc., etc. So we, as the people, 500 people, we could, or 500 businesses actually, we could account for 20 million euro by a loan of 10 million and by our own investments of 10 million. And we came 10 million loss because we could not buy it. It was not our building, we had to hire it. So and the district authority said, no, I'm not going to give you any money. So I lobbied, and I went to all departments, the national government, the youth department, and I managed to lobby for 9 million euros altogether. And the 9 million euros was only to refurnish the building, to have a new roof, to put in the good infrastructure, because you know, it has never been done before to build a city in a warehouse. So what sort of kind of fire measurements are you going to take? It's very difficult to get a building permission if you cannot compare it with other sort of measurements or projects. So that was also funny that I got a reward, a prize from the national government of a few million euro, because I was doing something so complicated and with so many people, and I also wanted to have a sustainable energy system, because in the meantime the neighborhood had managed to protest against the tearing down of the building. So it now suddenly also became a monument in the meantime, so it's going to stay for 100 years. So I thought it should have a sustainable energy system. And the complexity, and that there were no rules to build a city in a warehouse. That's why I got a prize from the government, the national government, that I was doing something which was not fitting within the law, and maybe that we could come up with new laws. And that was so that's how we sort of managed to lobby and organize the 9 million euro lacking in our business model. And that money did not go to us. It only went to the building and to the architects that No Cure, No Pay helped us, and to the other people that helped us. So we could pay them and start this really complicated process of starting of the renovation of the building. Now, first I want to do something, because what I did, when everything was sorted and there was money, etc., and we were nearly going to sign the contract, I threw all the plans away. Because I said, my project is about people, so I want the people in first. And then with the people, we make the design, because all this before is just sort of to show people that it's feasible, and then it can happen. So I was just wondering, are there any skateboarders here in the house? Or someone who wants to... Edda, you want to build a skate park? Where's Edda? Is she here? Edda, she's a skateboarder. And you want to realize a skate park, don't you? Yeah, you told me it's your dream, yes. Who's an architect? Who wants to build his own studio? Does anybody wants to build his own studio? Don't be shy. Nobody wants to build his own studio? You want to only build for other people? Yes, you want to build your own studio. Is there anybody who wants to have a restaurant? Maybe in the future. Or does anybody want to help me to pretend that he or she wants a restaurant in the building? Come up. Come in front. Yes, she's going to start this really. She's like the unemployed mother. You know, she has no money, but she has skilled herself the last few years in building with straw bales, haven't you? Yes. So now she's building orphanages in South Africa and Romania with rest materials, aren't you? You're very good at it. Yeah, you have this dream. You want to build this restaurant for children and young people growing up with all rest materials from nature, aren't you? Yes. Come up here. Two artists, crazy artists. One artist and a boat worker. Come on, pretend to be a boat worker. I'm not going to stop before someone comes here. Who wants to be a boat worker? Yeah? And I want an artist. Harrison, you can be the artist. You have to experience this. Oh, no, you can't. Sorry. Come up here. Come up here on stage with me, please, because I cannot do this by myself. So I said, throw all the plans away. I first want the people here, in the warehouse. So we are in the warehouse now. I want you to draw a line on the ground for your perfect. You want to build a skate park, you want to have a restaurant, you want to have a small studio, you're an architect, you want to build your own. You're going to build something, near the edge somewhere, that you're a boat worker, you need a high, come up. You need a high door to get your boats in and out. So just draw on the floor where you're going to be. Just draw a line. And maybe it's good to draw 2 by 2 meters at least if you want to have a small studio, and maybe 3. Think of your public. But anyway, just draw a line. So while they are drawing the line, I will explain the project. I thought it was important that first the people should go in. So I invited, or there was obviously already 1,000 people evicted from these old buildings. So I knew there was a lot of demand for it. So I had the people come into the warehouse before like you can be part of it, but you have to all feel this commitment. So what we first drew was with a chalk. We drew a line on the ground, and everybody paid for their line. So you now have to pay me 1 krone per square meter for 1 day, or half a krone for square meter for 1 day, and then you're in. And with that, I can buy a coffee. It's important because I'm thirsty. And this is how we started. And I'm going to show you how it looked. Oh, you nearly finished. Oh, she's done in lovely boats. So this is how it looks when 70 people does this with the chalk line on the ground, in a ruin, no roof, no walls, nothing. Just put in your stuff. We really all drew a chalk line like this. And everybody paid, and that was a little bit of money we could start organizing the project ourselves. And that was hilarious. So that was the first fight I got with the government, because they were like, "You're crazy, we have all these plans and now you have to start over again." Yes, I want the people to design the project. It's not me, it's me just teasing, but I really want that the people should take over and start the project. So this is how we started in the warehouse. All these crazy stuff and people. Thank you very much. And with these people, I did it. They had no money, they were very poor. But they did it. They started putting money into it, and a little bit, and at the end, you can go, you can stay if you want. You can say, it's maybe nicer to say, but this is sort of how we started, and this is how it looked. But I'm not ready yet. I'm not ready yet. Okay, the boat worker and the restaurant, obviously they needed some sort of business plan. And some people that wanted to have big space, because we had sort of, the artist, we were going to build 28,000 square meter of space to rent out, but it's quite easy if you rent out 100 square meter or 50 square meter, you know that they can account for it. But if a skate park wants 2,000 square meter and a restaurant wants 350 and a boat worker wants 400, you need some sort of idea that they can manage it. So we put all the business plans into our operational plan, because we also knew that the 500 people could account for 20 million, and we also knew that we were going to get 10 million subsidy, or 9 million subsidy. And we put this in a 10-year plan, how we are going to divide the money. And we also put the building, this is like the operational plan with the 10-year budget, how we are going to divide the warehouse into building projects. And this was our operational plan we launched in 2002. And this is how we designed. This is also design process. It's you can all download this from my website. So it's for everybody to share and to do and to copy paste. Please do. So here is like we also asked the philosopher. Is there a philosopher here? No? Philosopher? No? Urban planner? Urban planner? Ah, I see urban planners. And of course architects. And the artists, the boat workers and the mothers, we had a workshop together on equal level together how to design our own warehouse. So we were guided. The workshop leader was a philosopher. We got maybe he was not an architect, more engineer and urban planner. And 12 of the people in the warehouse joined this. So this is how we started our workshop. We were very much inspired by Constant Nieuwenhuis. You know him, the Cobra artist, New Babylon, Homo Ludens, building with decks. He was very inspiring to us. Also, Louis Leroy is a very old Dutch artist now, who builds beautiful outdoor spaces with rubbish. And this was obviously very polluted. There was a lot of rubbish, so he also inspired us to be our soulmates in the development of the inside. And this is how we sort of, by itself, organized 5 building projects in the warehouse with an idea. This is also sort of the way we should organize ourselves, because we're going to be like 500 people. How are you going to organize 5 people? But if you put them, around a few building projects, you can be quite independent within your own building project, but if it's about the building which is covering your building project, you have something in common. So this is the 5. In the East Wing, we have really big theater working spaces. The theater groups just formed a group, you know, by accident together there, and they built their own studio space. It's only 8 meters high. Here in the free zone, you see that there's the place for the boat workers. They don't want to be part of a collective. They want to do everything themselves. And there's also a steel guy who works with steel, and a woman who has this big oven, ceramic oven. You know, they didn't want to be part of the community. They wanted to do it themselves. So they were allowed to have a free zone. They had to be responsible for their own building project. Then the Kunststad, it's the art city. It's a casco, a city as a framework. It's a framework model. We were actually also the first ever to get a building permission based on a framework model with no end image, because we could not show how it's going to look like in the end, because that was the responsibility of the people. And you will understand later what I mean. And then there's the skate park. 2,000 square meter, also part of a youth cluster. And the North Wing, which is 25 meters high. So the center is 90 meters high, north is 25. It should be like a cathedral, open space. We really want to keep the monumental structure of the warehouse as much intact as possible. So we never had problems with the monumental department in Amsterdam. And this is the East Wing. This was before the Kunststad. We gradually, like you saw the picture that we all were with, you know, chalk lines, and all the people, when this project was finished, they moved into the East Wing. And then we had space, so we were open while, you know, we always said the shop is open while we build. So we kept collecting money from ourselves. So this is the East Wing and how they sort of built their own. So the neighbors had to build the walls together. They built floors in themselves. Are you falling asleep, Peter? Okay. This is the skate park. It's really a fun skate park. This is the only skate park in the Netherlands that is not funded by subsidy. It doesn't get subsidy. It has 11 employed people, and it's also, according to the national, international skateboard magazines, a top-rated skate park in Europe. And it was the second building project that we launched in the warehouse, and it's completely designed and organized and built in by the skateboarders themselves. And this is the framework. Here you can see the building permission we just got from a framework. So we cleaned the ground, the pollution is out, we put poles in it, we have the fire infrastructure. You see the gray and white. We did not make fire compartments. We had like these curtains for fire. Very genius system. And here's the framework. And within the framework, every individual group built their own studios. Now the Green Studio is built by 8 young artists just from school, and everybody knows how to collect some money. You know, you can ask your parents, your grandparents, you can get a loan. So it's really about collective investments, and they built their own Green Studio there, and the whole city is all, and we had like, you're not allowed to have more than 100 square meters, and they're just paying rent, and they're building their own stuff, and they're not even owning it. So that was quite amazing. And we have all disciplines there. Like you can shop, you have web designers, you have actors, writers, players, architects, designers, theater makers. Every discipline you can imagine, it's there. So when I do big projects, I always work with people from the warehouse on other projects. Here's the second floor. Also the third floor. This is the third. This is my office. I started with containers, 3 containers. And this is the best angle, actually. And it's quite unique. There was no committee saying you're not allowed. You can see also that people start with very cheap materials, and eventually the next year or the next year after, they have some more money, and then they start painting the facade, etc. So it's also an organically developed project. And this is the other side. It's more colored now. You know, he started there, but now it's... And when I do tours, he's selling great stuff for your mobile phones. So there's lots of great stuff to buy and shop around here. And we were an award-winning project. We were on the cover of the Yearbook of Architecture, and we are no architects. And we had this amazing compliment that we were so pure to the architecture of having people having influence on their own environment. That was pretty amazing and great for us. And we were like in the book with Rem Koolhaas and all the famous architects, like, wow, we're on the cover. It was really fun. And you could see all the names there. And we were right on the covers. That was great. This is the restaurant of the unemployed mothers. It's now, you know, she was, first she asked the building, first she had this design out of straw bales, and it was refused. She didn't get a building permission because it was not industrial enough. And then we found this other structure, this round structure. We found it lying somewhere in the warehouse. So we put it over the straw bale house with some glass, and now it's industrial enough to get a permission. But it's crazy how sometimes people interfere with your own design, while, you know, it's actually, her first design was much more attractive and more into recycling. But anyway, this is now the one of the top 25 restaurants in Amsterdam. And nobody trusted us years ago. And the mothers are not unemployed anymore. And she's giving work to 60 people in the restaurant, which is great. And young people, like the skate park, giving work to 11 people. So it has quite a good set-off. We have more projects. When I won the competition, the city asked me to get rid of the flea market and the boat workers because it did not fit their image of creative industry. But I did not have any image. I thought, well, I don't know what it's going to be like. So I intensified the flea market because I thought, hey, that's great. All this recycling, we were really into sustainability. They're really recycling stuff. So I thought it should be every month or 2 months. So this was the second fight with the government that so all these things happen. Also, because our sustainable energy system, I had this dream to start our own energy company. But it's quite difficult to organize that within the warehouse. So there's so much businesses now at the NESM. Big companies like MTV, Greenpeace, Pernod Ricard have moved in. So I've now started an energy company. We have 400 companies at the NESM now, from Shipdock, still old Shipdock company, until modern, hip MTV stuff and Red Bull. And so we have an energy company now, which is, we already have a building permission, which we're going to build next year, a windmill that can account for 1/3 of our electricity needs. And we use 26 million kilowatt-hour. Well, you know how much this is. So with 1 mill, it's 4.5 million. But we're going to do that ourselves. It's also another bottom-up project, but then with companies and our neighbors. So it's quite amazing that it has an effect, and not creative, but also sustainable and image instead of creative. There's more space. Oh, these are the costs. I just told you a little bit. It's 30 million, and we could account for. We are only half developed, so we are now stuck at 20 million. So we've got 20 million from the government and 20 million is of ourselves. It's half developed, so we need another new group. We are now 250 people, so we need another 250 people to get the rest of the loan and the investments. But still, it's proved it's a sound business plan. We also have a separate foundation for the outdoor area, because we have all these buildings. We are one, and the MTV has one, and together we form a board that is responsible for a foundation that programs and maintains the outdoor area. So this we also do together, which is really interesting. And also fits to our city as a framework model of sharing responsibility, having your own responsibility, but also having shared responsibilities with the outdoor space around you. So it's also an interesting construction. We are a world hype now, or we were a world hype. I just a few months ago read that NESM is in the top 10 of hottest places in the world, according to the Financial Times. I'm like, what? And we were on the Spiegel, and I'm traveling everywhere. I've been, every month I'm now here, but next week I'm going to Rio and Sao Paulo, and then I'm going back to Japan. I'm working in Japan for 3 years, also another shipyard. I've been working at Berlin Tempelhof with activating the field, with the people, not with the government and not with the architects, but with the people. So it's really amazing. And this is not our plan, because now they're saying, when we came there, it's like, who wants to be in the north? And now they're accusing us that you always want to be on the best places. So it's quite amazing story. And you can imagine the project developers have moved in. In 2007, when we just launched our art city, it was finished. We heard that the government was selling our building. So we put all our money and effort, all free, all voluntary work, and all our own money into a building that they were selling to a developer. And they were selling it for 5.7 million euro, while we had just organized 10 million to renovate the building and put 10 million of our own. And that was really horrible. And then we did, and they were already negotiating for 2 years, and I was like furious. How did you not take us into this bidding? And then I asked, can I bid too? Yeah, you get 2 weeks. And in 2 weeks' time, I again called my friends, no cure, no pay friends, my financial experts, like, could we buy it ourselves? And then we found out we could pay 6.4 million ourselves instead of 5.7. But we were not allowed. We came with a business plan, 52 pages of business plans and proof. And the developer just came with 1 or 2 pieces of paper. Oh, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to work together with the bicycle factory, who was bankrupt at that time. And it's amazing that we still can't believe what is this political horror going on in Amsterdam. So again, many protests, etc. And this has also led to the takeover, the hostile takeover of the government taking over our foundation. We were at a certain point not allowed to develop anymore. So we could not apply for more people to move in or not attract more people to come. We were just not allowed to develop any further. And the whole area around us has been bought by one developer, not by, like we built little plots in the warehouse. You could see the little framework, and everybody was hiring a piece of, owning a piece of it, and that should have been the model for the whole area, actually. But no, the government sold it to one developer. And I heard someone talking about risk management, one of the first speakers. High risk, of course. And the developer started putting money into the outdoor foundation together with the government, and using the foundation as a tool for gentrification and not to kick all the people out of the board, put all their people in the board. It's really horrible self-made future plan that they're asking us to enter with our co-creation sessions, etc., but not doing any financial analysis, which is, well, funny because we're artists and very creative, but we're experts in entrepreneuring and sort of knowing how much money you need, and the developers are not even taking that into account. So there's this self-made future with developers, governments, and they're trying, putting a little effort to. But 2 days ago, 3 days ago, the news: the developer is bankrupt. So it's new chance for us, we hope. Because, we believe that, and I've proved together that we can build a city with our own money. We can design, we can be responsible for the whole process. And we have asked since 2007 till now, 2014, please let us continue with our own ideas and plans that we can double the studios. Now the developer went bankrupt, so we really hope that we can do it. And my motto is always, it's impossible, but it's not undoable. And don't clap yet, because this is with love from Eva, etc. Thank you. But I was inspired by Ilko. He had this film, ended his presentation with a film about Berlin Tempelhof. I just want to share a little anecdote with you from Tempelhof, because I was invited by the government of Berlin to do a workshop in 2008. What do we do with Tempelhof? This big, it was still open at that time. What do we do with the building? And the outdoor area, and I was like confused. Why am I here with all this glass house in Tempelhof building? You have this glass house, so there were all architects and designers. Then there's me, just a mother and a goat herder, and did this project which grew out of my hands and was not expected to be that popular. And I got a bit irritated there because all the designers and architects were coming up with all these plans, and I thought, oh, this building, you should do it like I did at the NESM, get 500 owners and just share it together. But that was too complicated, so then we were going on the outdoor field, and they were coming up with all these designs and plans, and I was annoyed, and I went out, and outside there were these people that heard about this workshop, young people that lived in the neighborhood. In Neukölln, the neighborhood was really empty because of the planes making noise coming over it. So young artists and young skateboarders and young people had managed to start some great initiatives in the neighborhood, like these great hotels, and they had all these ideas of doing stuff on the field. And I was going out and I was talking to them, and they took me to their house, and so I went back after a few hours into the workshop. I said, look, we should stop, because we already have a plan. There's people here outside that know how to activate the field, so we should stop. And no, this is really true. They listened and said, great, would you do it for us? And I said, no, because I'm not a local. You should get a local in Berlin to help them activate the field. And that's what they did. They asked a friend of mine, Raumlabor, to activate the field with the people. And the referendum in June, which was about the plan, Ilko won the prize to develop the area and develop the neighborhood. There was a referendum in Berlin. And this film was used to sort of account for, are you going to choose for the People's Park, or are you going to choose for sort of new gentrification models around the park? And I want to show you this film just for you, because they won. The people won. That's just my motto again, and I would really like you to all take that into account as future architects. It's first the people, and then it's the design. Thank you.